I got it.
A movement against a particular person or a particular political party, but against an administration and the representatives of that administration that has grossly denied, delayed justice. There is nothing that has happened in this atrocious rape and murder of the doctor who was killed because of her discovery of a nexus of crime at Archie. So we are here to demand justice, and please, our request is that we refrain from offensive, foul language as opposed to strong language, and also that we don't impugn India as a country, because we are here on a foreign land and we are not here saying bad things about the country of our birth and origin, but we are demanding justice for a gross situation which has not received any justice yet. So the only thing that I'm here to do is to introduce Dr. Utpal Parekh.
Physicians and members of the Indian community, thank you for coming today and spending your Sunday here. We are here for 5 reasons. We are here to protest. Number 1, to show our anger. So number 2, to show our solidarity. Number 3, to show our determination. Number 4, to show that we care. And number 5, that we can strive to bring change. So that makes a fist. So folks, raise your fist and say, we shall and we can.
We shall and we can.
I'm now going to introduce the regional director of API, the umbrella organization of the medical physicians of Indian origin, to say a few words here. And
Justice. When do you want it? We want it now. I stand before you as a woman, as a physician, and as a human, and representing the American Association of Physicians of Indian origin. We should not stop until we get justice for this barbaric, inhumane act against a woman physician. Violence against women and against physicians is increasing. It's time to stop now. So when do we need it? Please resonate with me so our voices can be heard all the way to India. We need justice now. Violence against women has increased 25% over the past 5 years. More than 500,000 cases were recorded last year itself. Many of them go unrecorded. 50% of the healthcare workers which includes doctors, nurses, medical techs, and ancillary service staff experience some form of violence or the other in their career. Healthcare professionals have 16 times increased violence as compared to the workers in other sectors. It has to be stopped. We need justice now. Thank you. In a country where woman is considered as Adi Shakti and a physician as Vaijo Narayano Hari, we are seeing increasing number of these atrocities. That should be stopped now. We need justice now. She was a woman physician who was standing up for others and was brutally silenced. We need justice now. Women are the fabric that holds the families and communities together. Everywhere in the world, women weave and mend the social fabric of our communities. The moral fabric of our global society is at stake. We need to stop the crime against women. We need justice now. So a general physician in his or her time takes about 40 years, takes care of maybe 300,000 people and help for their health being and well-being. A specialist saves about 150,000 lives in their lifetime. Physicians, at their expense of their own family time, they are there to save people's lives. She was training to be a chest lung disease specialist. Justice now. Media and digital technologies are a central dimension of the problem too. The prevalence and impact of violence portrayed in media and entertainment should be curbed. Multiple studies have shown a strong association between exposure to violence in media, especially in Indian media and all the movies and the plays that we get. Multiple studies have shown a strong association between exposure to violence in media, aggressive violent thoughts, emotions and behavior to those exposed. We need initiatives at different levels, including research, policy, advocacy and training. We need to implement changes to stop violence, and we need to do it now because we need justice now. What do? We need to push our legislators to reform and implement laws and multi-sectorial policies, scale up the evidence-based prevention interventions and hold the criminals against Doctors and Hospitals Act. Violence against healthcare professionals, personnel and hospitals should be made a non-bailable offense and damage.
First generation, second generation, and I saw third generation, I think, stand in solidarity with our Indian sisters in India as well as here. The points that you heard from Dr. Meher were fantastic, and I hope we can move all of that forward. The other piece that I want to ask all of you is, what can you do on an individual basis? What can you do in your relationships with one another, with your daughters, sisters, friends, etc.? I want to tell you that in my practice as a psychiatrist, I see on a daily basis at least half of the patients that I see have been sexually molested in childhood. They've been sexually abused in some way, violated in some way in childhood and adulthood, as older adults as well. And they remain in silence. The majority of the time, they don't say anything to anybody. So one of the things that I really hope for from this whole process that we are experiencing and part of is, how can we make it more realistic? How can we make it more feasible for women to actually come forward? In this case, of course, this young lady wasn't even given a chance. That was the whole point. She was completely shut down and silenced, violently, aggressively, totally in an unjust and too early to leave this earth. As Dr. Meher said, she would have saved so many lives. She would have changed lives. And that is lost to the world. What can we do in addition to this rally, this peaceful protest today? I ask each of you to think about how you're going to change the way that you talk to the women in your lives. Even as a woman, sometimes we end up silent. I really, really hope for a radiating effect where it affects an individual, a family, a larger family unit, and society at large, so that women can speak up without feeling shamed, blamed, and held at fault for something that is never their fault, ever. And I think that's the first message that we need to give to women, that it's not their fault, that we support them, the brothers, the sisters, the fathers, everybody here, to stand in solidarity with women in their journey, in the reality that they are not safe most of the time. Here in India at all, it happens all day, every day, all over the globe. So I ask you to make that change in your personal relationships, professional relationships, to create a voice for every woman.
Right.
Thank you. Amen.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall live in peace. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We are not afraid today. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. Someday we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome.
শব্দ হয়েছিল তারা ব্যস্ততা যে যেমন সে নিচ্ছে মেরে নাম দিয়ে কথা কেউ মরণ গান কেউ ভয়ে কাতর কেউ পানির উপাদন হয় হয়ে কাতর আর কবে 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 কণ্ঠ সঙ্গীত হবে আর কবে চিত্র স্বাধীন হবে আর কবে সিদ্ধ হবে নিগর আর কবে সে রূপে দাঁড়াবে আর কবে আর কবে আর কবে আর কবে শুধু লেখা বিপ্লবী তিলোত্তমা করেছে অঙ্গীকার But then the girl fade behind it all. Some another day, some seconds to gone. Others in what deeper than time today's song. Tell me when, 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 tell me when.
More introduction needed. I normally speak very spontaneously without a script, but today I did not want to present anything that is factually incorrect and driven by my emotion. So I scribbled down something while coming here. I'll read it. I hesitated to talk about this Arjikor incident because all I wanted to do was cry in silence. That language becomes an incomplete and inadequate medium to express that emotion. Sometimes humanity falls through such a deep abyss. Sometimes human atrocity is so appalling that we are shaken to the core. We hang our head in shame. But then I thought it is not time to shed tears. It is not time to accept all this as fate. It is time to demand an answer. It is time to say enough is enough. If you think our countrymen suffers from some sort of short-term memory loss, then dear administration, you are wrong. We will not forget and we will not forgive. We need answers for questions like what is the nationally laid down forensic requirement for cremation and why was it not followed? Who is behind it? Protecting whom? And we will fix accountability. In our corporate world, there is a term called bastard failure, where everyone knows the system as a whole has failed, but no one is there to blame. Today, the state government of West Bengal itself is demanding justice. When we know that there is clearest evidence that the crime scene is deliberately altered after police was fully aware of the crime. When we know that the lawyer of the ex-principal of the
ভেঙে ফেল কর রেলোপার রক্ত জমাট শিকল পূজার পাষাণ বেদী রেলোপার রক্ত জমাট শিকল পূজার পাষাণ বেদী না সে তবে একলা চলো রে তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না সে তবে একলা চলো রে একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো রে একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে ফাঁকা না কর ওরে ওরে ও ফাঁকা কেউ ফাঁকা না কর তুমি সবাই করে মুখ ফিরাই সবাই করে ভয় সবাই করে মুখ ফিরাই সবাই করে ভয়
মিনিমাম তো 150 লোক তো হবেই
In the United States, a girl is raped. This happens in India as well. It happens all the time. And as a doctor myself, working in NIMHANS, late nights, coming back at 10, 11 o'clock back to the dorm, the hostel, the PG hostel, I know how dangerous it used to be for us women to walk back. So I totally understand what all of the doctors in India go through, as well as women on the streets in the United States. In Chicago, in Indiana, no matter where in the country, women are always at risk. We are always blamed if something happens to us. So what happens as a result is we keep quiet. My request to all of you is, if you hear someone complain, if you hear an allegation, take it seriously. They're not making it up for attention. They're doing it because it really happens. Thank you.
Would you please introduce yourself?
Of India can call in something which has been not doing right. In the United States, case has to be filed first. But in India, case does not have to be filed. It's called suo motu. And I strongly recommend in YouTube, there is a suo motu hearing.
Your name for record?
Swarvanu Sanyal.
Swarvanu ji, we just were here. I think it is beyond expecting. The way people have, and this is need of the time in today's time, silence is not an answer. What made you think through to do this, and why? Very, very short and crisp answer. And then you said, I am going to add something. You said this is going to go on, but I pray to God this should be last and it should not happen to anyone anytime in the coming future.
I was involved in it not because it is a case of rape and murder, but it's a double crime. After that, the state administration tried to wipe out the evidence, and that is the second double crime, which is what can never happen and should never happen, and we should go to the bottom of it.
बहुत बहुत थैंक यू आपका हमसे बात करने का. उत्पल जी, you got involved into this as you being a physician, and it should not happen to anyone anywhere on the face of the earth.
This is something that has been happening, has happened, and will happen. And this is what happens when these are things that are ills with society and ills with government. And both the ills are coming to a cross section, creating this terrible thing.
It is big irony. The person, those who are involved into the crime, and they are asking for justice. I've never seen that. Meherji from API, as we know that from Chicago. Let's hear. Like it's really gruesome.
It definitely is. It's a very inhumane act, and the fact that it's happened again and again, and this time it got at least brought to everybody's attention. And as physicians, as a woman, it is our responsibility now going forward. So what can we do to avoid this kind of crime and this kind of acts, atrocities against women physicians? So API or any physicians or anywhere globally, I urge everybody, we need to take stand and we need to make changes in how they get reported. Like I said, it cannot be. I have been a physician in India and here, and it is very difficult sometimes being a woman, being all by herself, no protection. There should be lot of the things in places where they can reach out if they need to, like having like code purple should become something that universally in all for all physicians, that if they need help they should be able to dial a number in the hospital so that can get the security, get the police or something. But this, please do not stop. This has to be solved. The justice should be there. Thank you.
She cannot come back. We all know that, but it should not happen to anybody in future. You just did mention it's not a problem only for the Bharat. This is a problem means globally that we are seeing it. And we just had somebody who came from the human rights, and she being a physician herself, when she was giving the statistics and the number, that's very painful. You guys give life to us, and then it should not happen to anybody of any profession, to be very honest. No matter, safety is our own right.
Exactly. So yes, the question is, of course, what are we going to do next, right? I mean, we have, on a societal level, we have the policy level, but then the piece that I see on a daily basis as a psychiatrist is the interpersonal level, just within families, within relationships, mother-child, father-child, within a marital relationship. I mean, I see violations all the time, which then lead to horrible situations for decades and decades to come. Otherwise, why would they come to me as a psychiatrist, right? So my question to everyone always is, whether it's my patient and when I do family sessions, etc., is how are we going to change the way that we interact with one another? How are we going to change the way that men view women? And how do we get women as well as men to understand what the right boundaries are, what it means to have respect, what is an appropriate comment and what isn't, what is appropriate touch, what isn't. I mean, it starts with those basics, and then it kind of expands into the atrocities that we see happening over and over and over again. This, of course, is an intersection. What we are here to discuss today is an intersection of cultural values as well as political realities, but India is not the only place that these things happen. So ultimately, it comes down to women having a voice, families and people in personal relationships with women supporting that voice and not blaming and not shaming and allowing the truth to be told when it is appropriate.
They have to learn, say no to what's happening. They have to come out and speak, and which is not happening. You did mention. And what's my fault as being a woman? I'm reporting from Chicago. Thank you so very much. This should not happen to anybody. And woman is the one who brings you to this world, and the person who is responsible for that administration and all. Anyone should not be spared. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing. Namaskar.